Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Welcome to Game Time with Hubb, your all-access pass to the hottest stories in football, basketball, boxing, and wrestling. Whether it's game-winning touchdowns, buzzer beaters, knockout punches, or jaw-dropping suplexes, we've got it all covered. He's your host, Hubb.
What's up? Welcome back to Game Time with Hubb. It's Championship Sunday, and we're officially down to the Final Four. Two teams are punching their ticket to Santa Clara, California. They're playing Super Bowl 60. And the other two, their season ends tomorrow. That's it. No more we'll get them next week. No more we just need one more step. This is the week where legacies start getting written in the ink. Now, quick record check because we keep receipts over here. Last week we went 3-1, and that brings our season total to 189, 92-1. And the playoffs were sitting at 7-3. So we're not just talking, we're tracking, we're grading, and we're showing up every round. Today's episode is built for momentum. We're going to break down both championship games, AFC and NFC. Before we jump into the picks, we're talking matchups, pressure points, and the one or two moments that usually decides a conference title game. And I'm keeping it real. In games like these, it's rarely about who looks better on paper. It's about who handles the moment when the game tightens up in the fourth quarter. Now, before we even touch those matchups, we got to talk awards. Because the NFL just dropped the finalists for the season end awards, and those names tell you a lot about how the season has been viewed across the league. So here's the rundown. The NFL and the Associated Press announced the finalists for the 2025 NFL Season Awards. Winners are revealed at the NFL Honors, which will be Thursday, February 5th at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco. That show airs at 9 p.m. Eastern on NBC and NFL Network, and you can stream it on Peacock and NFL Plus. So not only do we have a Super Bowl trip on the line tomorrow, we've also got the trophy season right around the corner. And you already know how these games can influence the storylines and how people remember the run. All right, now let's get into the slate because we got two heavyweights tomorrow and the vibes are completely different in each game. Today's slate preview, first up is the 3 o'clock Eastern game on CBS. We got the AFC Championship, the New England Patriots taking on the Denver Broncos. This one is all about defense, ball security, and surviving a high-pressure environment. Literally and figuratively, because you're in Mile High, and both defenses are playing with confidence. Then in prime time at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox, we got the NFC Championship. Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Division rivals split the season series, and the first two games are basically decided by inches. This is the kind of matchup where one strip sack, one busted coverage, one tip ball can swing the entire season. And what makes today even crazier in the contrast, in the AFC game, you're looking at a massive quarterback storyline with Denver having to adjust at the most important position. And in the NFC game, you're looking at familiarity. These teams know each other so well that it becomes more about execution and who can create the one new look that catches the other team slipping. So here's how we're going to do it today. Number one, we're going to talk about the NFL awards finalists because that's the league setting the stage. The number two, we run a quick playoff scenario segment because it's simple. Winning, you're in. And number three, then we go game by game, matchup, context, three key factors, my takeaway, my pick, with clean transitions and high energy. All right, quick timeout. And when we come back, we're starting with the NFL awards finalists, and then we're heading straight into Championship Sunday breakdowns. The NFL and the Associated Press have announced the finalists for the 2025 NFL Season Awards. The winners will be announced at the NFL Honors. Now, this is happening on Thursday, as I said in the intro, February 5th at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco. So we're kicking it off here with the Most Valuable Player Award, the AP Most Valuable Player MVP. So we're looking at Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills, Trevor Lawrence from the Jacksonville Jaguars, Drake May from the New England Patriots, Christian McCaffrey from the San Francisco 49ers, and Matthew Stafford from the LA Rams. Now, my pick here, I would choose Matthew Stafford. I feel like he's had the better year of all the players here, even though Christian McCaffrey was the 49ers offense. Josh Allen, he's basically Buffalo. Trevor Lawrence has had a turnaround like no other. And Drake May has improved from his rookie season. And a lot of that credit, in my opinion, goes to Josh McDaniels. I feel like having Josh McDaniels there was great for Drake May's development. And let's see where he goes from there. But my pick here for this one will be Matthew Stafford. And moving on to the AP Defensive Player of the Year, we got Will Anderson Jr. from the Houston Texans, Nick Bonito from the Denver Broncos, Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns, Aiden Hutchinson from the Detroit Lions, and Micah Parsons from the Green Bay Packers. Now, all these players here, they had a heck of a season. But one player sticks out to me in this one, and that's Myles Garrett. I feel like he is a defensive player of the year this year. No questions asked. Sack record, what more can you say? Now, for the AP Offensive Player of the Year, you're looking at Drake May from the New England Patriots, Christian McCaffrey from the San Francisco 49ers, Puka Nacua from the LA Rams, Bijan Robinson from the Atlanta Falcons, and Jackson Smith-Njigba from the Seattle Seahawks. Now, my pick in this one for Offensive Player of the Year, I will go with Drake May. I feel like, he's been balling. He's also an MVP finalist over here. But I just feel like Drake May's improvement from last year to this year has been, great. And I do credit a lot of that to Josh McDaniels, but also you got to give credit to Drake May for putting in the work and wanting to come back and be better than he was a year before. So the ceiling for Drake May right now is extremely high. And let's see what happens. He's also in the championship game tomorrow. Maybe he will punch his ticket to the Super Bowl tomorrow. We will find out. Now, next up is the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. We're looking at Jackson Dart from the New York Giants, Emeka Ibuka from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Travion Henderson from the New England Patriots, Ted McMillan from the Carolina Panthers, and Tyler Shuck from the New Orleans Saints. This one's a little bit tighter for me, but if I had to pick, I will go with Jackson Dart. I think, Jackson Dart has been great for New York, for the Giants. And now he's getting a new coach in John Harbaugh for his year or two. We're going to see how the Giants go. Now, for the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, our finalists are Abdul Carter from the New York Giants, Nick Emmanwori from the Seattle Seahawks, James Pierce Jr. from the Atlanta Falcons, Chris Schlesinger from the Cleveland Browns, and Xavier Watts from the Falcons. If I had to pick here, I like James Pierce. I feel like, hey, a heck of a player for the Falcons. And they went up and they got him in the draft just so they can have like pass rushers on that defensive front. And he's helped that Atlanta Falcons defense in a big way. Now, now for the AP Comeback Player of the Year award, you got Stephon Diggs from New England Patriots, Aiden Hutchinson from the Detroit Lions, Trevor Lawrence from the Jacksonville Jaguars, Christian McCaffrey from the San Francisco 49ers, and Dak Prescott from the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this one is tough too because Christian McCaffrey had that injury last year that sidelined him for the whole season. Trevor Lawrence is also an MVP finalist, just like Christian McCaffrey. Stephon Diggs coming off that ACL. Aiden Hutchinson coming back off his injury. Dak Prescott in the same boat. He had a heck of a year with the Cowboys. They just couldn't get in the playoffs. He has two dynamic wide receivers over there. But if I had to pick one out of this bunch, I probably would go more so with Trevor Lawrence because I feel like this was his better year. And Liam Cohen coming in and coaching him up, doing the things he did for Baker Mayfield like last season, has been a big help for Trevor Lawrence. And on the AP Coach of the Year, we got Liam Cohen from the Jaguars. You got Ben Johnson from the Bears, Mike McDonald from the Seahawks, Kyle Shanahan from the 49ers, and Mike Vrabel from the Patriots. Now, I'm quite now. I feel like if the Patriots win tomorrow, it's going to be Mike Vrabel. Otherwise, I'm looking at Mike McDonald. I feel like, taking Seattle to where they are, number one seed and everything. But on the flip side, you got Mike Vrabel taking a 4-13 team, turn them into a contender out here. Like New England out here balling, man. And they was not expected to be here. Now, the AP Assistant Coach of the Year finalists are Vic Fangio from the Philadelphia Eagles, Brian Flores from the Minnesota Vikings, Lance Joseph from the Denver Broncos, Clint Kubiak from the Seattle Seahawks, and Josh McDaniels for the New England Patriots. Now, Josh McDaniels, like I said, he has big hand in what he did with Drake May. Clint Kubiak has that offense in Seattle running well with Sam Darnold. Vance Joseph defenses in Denver is crazy. Same with Brian Flores defense in Minnesota. Same with Vic Fangio's defense with the Eagles. I feel like the Eagles came along on the second half of the year with their defense. But if I had to go one way, it might be Vance Joseph here because I like what he did with this defense here. They're number one in sacks, I believe. But it's a crazy defense over there in Denver, man. Tough for any team to take down. Now, that's the list, and it's Championship Sunday. So these teams are about to shape how these trophies feel when they're handed out. All right, now here's a scenario for the playoffs. It's real simple. You win tomorrow, and you're headed to Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. You lose, then your season's done. In the AFC, you got the Patriots versus the Broncos. You got the Patriots trying to stay perfect on the road, and Denver trying to survive massive quarterback change with everything on the line. And then over the NFC, you got the Rams and the Seahawks, division rivals, split the season series, but basically nothing. And now it's game 3 with Super Bowl trip at stake. All right, before we jump into the picks, let's zoom out for a second. 4 teams left, and each has a very real lane to win Super Bowl 60. This is the part where you ask, what's their identity right now? What travels? What can show up anywhere? Because the Super Bowl doesn't care what you did in September. It cares about what you can do right now. Now, let's start with Denver. Why they can win it all? It's simple. The defense. Denver's blueprint is simple and it's old school. Defense first, and don't give the game away on offense. Because the reality is, Denver doesn't have any other choice after Bo Nix broke his right ankle in overtime last week. Now it's Jarrett Stidham, and the entire mission becomes protect him, keep the game in range, and let the defense dictate everything. And let's talk about this defense because it's not hype, it's numbers. In the regular season, Denver ranked first in sacks, second in yards allowed, third in scoring defense. That's elite across the board. That's the kind of unit that can win you a championship even when the offense isn't perfect. What's even more encouraging for Denver, the takeaway spike. They forced 5 turnovers against Buffalo last week. That's crazy when you remember they had only 14 takeaways in the entire regular season. So if that turnover surge is real, if that's not a 1-week thing, then Denver can flip a game with 1 strip sack, 1 tip ball, 1 bad throw forced by pressure. And that's the other part. The pressure isn't just one guy, it's consistent. This is the kind of defense that can shorten a game, steal a possession, and create points without the offense needing to be Superman. Denver can absolutely win the AFC title game and show up in the Super Bowl with the same formula: pressure, sacks, field position, takeaways, and just enough offense to finish drives. We look at why the Seattle Seahawks can win it all. The simple answer is, out of these 4 teams that are left, they're practically the best team, period. Now, let me say it again. The Seahawks look like the best team left right now because they're not just winning, they're imposing their will. They're on an 8-game win streak, and it feels like everything changed after that Week 16 comeback against the Rams. They were down 16 in the fourth quarter, then 38-37 in overtime. The type of win that doesn't just add to your record, it changes your mindset. And since then, they've been playing like they're expected to win, like they expect to pull away. That's why a game like the 41-6 win over San Francisco happens. That's a team that's not just surviving the playoffs. Seattle is playing like they're in control. Now look at the stretch numbers because these are championship level numbers. Over the last 7 games, not including the Rams game, Seattle has allowed just 44 total points. They forced 15 turnovers in that stretch, and they've averaged 28.6 points per game. That's not hot. That's just a machine. They're beating teams with defense. They're flipping the games with takeaways, and they're scoring enough to make you chase the game. That is exactly what you want in January. And when you combine confidence with a defense that's peaking and an offense that put up points, that's how you end up in Santa Clara playing for it all. Now, the question here is, why can the New England Patriots win it all? It's simple. Mike Vrabel and his defense and Drake May. This team has a familiar feel, elite coaching, high-level quarterback play, and a defense that's nasty when it matters. Vrabel has them locked in. You can see it in the details, how they tackle, how they align, how they don't beat themselves. They look prepared every week and usually shows up in the postseason. They just beat Houston 28-16 in the divisional round, and the Patriots defense turned this game into a nightmare for C.J. Stroud. 4 interceptions, that's not random. That's scouting, discipline, pressure, and guys finishing plays. And here's what makes them dangerous. Even when things get messy, they don't fall apart. May took heat in that game and committed 3 turnovers, but he still made the championship level throws when it mattered. Touchdown passes to Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte. That's what growth looks like in real time. He bends, but he doesn't break. And when you pair that with Vrabel, who knows what postseason pressure feels like, New England can go into a tough environment like Denver and still play their game. If they protect the ball just a little cleaner, they're still in the Super Bowl champions. Now, the question is, why the LA Rams can win it all? Simply, they have the best offense. If everyone else is leaning on their defense to survive, the Rams are built to outscore you. They've averaged 30.5 points per game in the regular season, best in the league, and Matthew Stafford is an MVP candidate. That matters because in playoff football, these are moments where somebody has to make a throw that breaks the game open. The Rams can do it in multiple ways. They've got a real run game with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, who combined for nearly 2,000 rushing yards in the regular season. That forces defenses to play honest. And once you do that, that's when McVay starts layering that offense on you. Then you look at the pass catchers. Puka Nacua, who is as dangerous as anybody, basically, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the league. and Devontae Adams, a future Hall of Famer, and with McVay, it's never just one plan. He'll change formations, change pace, go heavy personnel, go multiple tight ends, and hunt matchups until something happens. The Rams don't need a perfect defensive game to win it all. If their offense hits that gear and Stafford is sharp, they can win a shootout, they can win a close game, and they can win by forcing you to play on their scoreboard. All right, now that we set the table, let's get into the matchups. Now, our first matchup for Championship Sunday is the AFC Championship game at Empire Field at Mile High in Denver. Like the New England Patriots taking on the Denver Broncos. And this is one of them games where the storyline writes itself. The last time the Patriots and the Broncos met in the playoffs in Denver, it was Brady versus Manning. A decade ago, two icons, two eras colliding. This time it's a new generation, and nobody had it mapped out like this back in September. New England's path is about growth and momentum. They survive a 1-2 start, and they flip the season into dominance. 15 wins in their last 16 games, counting the playoffs. And the center of it all is Drake May. In year 2, playing like an MVP candidate. Denver path is about toughness and survival. They're the AFC's #1 seed. They're at home, and they've been one of the best teams in football. But now the entire game changes because Bo Nix fractures his ankle in overtime last week. So everything tightens, everything becomes more precious, every drive matters more, every mistake matters more. And the real tension is this. Denver has been built around a defense that can dominate a game, but the offense now has to be piloted by Jarrett Stidham, who's making his first start in 2 years with a Super Bowl trip on the line. That's not a normal situation. It's more like a pressure cooker. Then you add the something's got to give layer here. The Patriots are 8-0 on the road this season, best road story in the league. But New England is 0-4 all time in the playoffs at Denver. So which one wins out? History at Mile High, or what this Patriots team has shown us all season away from home? And let's be clear, both defenses come into this game playing with serious confidence. New England's defense has allowed 448 yards and 19 points combined in the playoffs, with 9 sacks and 6 takeaways. Denver's defense ranked first in sacks, second in yards allowed, and third in scoring defense in the regular season, and just forced 5 turnovers last week. So this is not just who's better. This is who handles the pressure, who protects the football, who can generate offense when the field shrinks and hits get heavier. All right, now let's get into the 3 key factors here that's going to decide it for us. Number 1, the Stidham game plan. Quick decisions, protect the football, survive the moment. This is the headline, and there is no way around it. Jarrett Stidham is making his first start since Week 18 of the 2023 season. He hasn't attempted a regular season pass in 2 years, and now he stepped into a conference championship game with a Super Bowl trip on the line. That's a pressure cooker. Denver's offense can't just copy and paste the Bo Nix version. Nick's game includes athleticism, design QB movements, and getting outside the pocket. Stidham isn't that, so Denver has to win with structure, quick passing, timing routes, in breakers, and selective shot plays, plus a heavier emphasis on the run game to keep Stidham out of obvious passing down. And here's another layer. Denver's offense took a hit last week. Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, and center Alex Forsythe left the divisional round win over Buffalo with injuries. So Denver's margin for error gets even thinner because if you're shorthanded, the Patriots can pin their ears back and force Stidham to hold the ball. And New England defense has earned respect in the playoffs, no matter what these analysts are saying every day on TV. Against the Chargers and the Texans, they've allowed only 448 total yards and 19 total points combined, while stacking 9 sacks and 6 takeaways. So the key for Denver is simple. Don't feed them the game. If Stidham is steady early, an opening drive scorer, even just points, Denver can settle into a script where their defense does what it does. My key number 2 is Drake May's survival test. Ball security versus the league's nastiest rush. Now let's flip it. Drake May is an MVP candidate, right? But the Patriots' pass protection has been leaky when the lights get brighter. Through 2 playoff games, May has been sacked 10 times and faced 31 pressures on 66 dropbacks. And the ball security, it has to improve. May has fumbled 6 times in those 2 games. That's not the profile you want walking into Denver because the Broncos bring heat. Last week, they harassed Josh Allen into 4 turnovers. And Denver's pass rush is the kind of unit that can turn a great quarterback into a get-it-out-now quarterback. The matchup that you can't ignore here is Broncos edge rusher Nick Bonito versus Patriots rookie left tackle Will Campbell, especially after Campbell struggled versus Houston. He struggled against the Chargers as well. If Denver wins that edge consistently, it forces May into rush decisions and it put those fumbles and sacks back on the table. New England's answer has to be a clean rhythm. Get the ball out, protect May with scheme, and make sure their top targets show up. They need more consistent production from Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry. Both have scored in the playoffs, but together they got 10 catches for 125 yards on 18 targets. If that duo is quiet again, Denver can load up, hunt pressure, and force the Patriots to string together long drives without mistakes. Now, my key number 3 is the run game chess match. Patriots duo runs versus Denver one soft spot. This is the sneaky key that can decide the entire game. Denver's run defense in the regular season was elite. They allowed 91.1 rushing yards per game at 3.9 yards per carry. But last week, Buffalo ran for 183 yards, and Denver had averaged 5.1 per carry. That's a real crack in the armor, right? And here's the matchup-specific stat that makes this huge. Denver allows 5.8 yards per carry against dual runs, and New England runs dual 32% of the time, third most in the NFL. That's a direct collision. But it also comes with a huge question. Is that 5.8 number simply variance of 65 dual runs faced this season, or is it a real weakness that New England can target? If the Patriots can establish the ground game, it does 3 things. Number 1, it slows down Denver's pass rush. Number 2, it keeps Drake May out of long yardage dropbacks where the sacks and fumbles show up. And number 3, it turns the game into a possession battle where New England's road composure can win it. And don't forget, May is a factor on the ground too. He can scramble, and they can selectively design movement. Add in Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson, and New England has multiple ways to stay on schedule. Meanwhile, Denver's run game has been a grind too since J.K. Dobbins' foot injury. They leaned on R.J. Harvey and Jaleel McLaughlin. They had hope that Dobbins could make his return, but he will be out again. That would have been big, especially for Stidham, who's making his start. My takeaway in this one is, when I boil it down, if New England runs the ball effectively and May protects it, they can travel and win anywhere. If Denver defense creates chaos early and Stidham plays mistake-free football, the crowd and the altitude can tilt this game. My pick here, Patriots. Now let's flip it over to the NFC because Rams versus Seahawks is a pressure cooker in a total different way. Now we shift to the NFC, and this is the one everybody had circled, not just because it's Championship Sunday, but because it's division rivals, it's Game 3, and the first 2 games basically told us these teams are the same level right now. And I'm talking about the Los Angeles Rams traveling to Lumen Field to take on the Seattle Seahawks, NFC Championship game. And this is the most expected matchup in the NFC because it's been building all season. The Rams are trying to get back to the Super Bowl stage they already been on. Remember, they reached it and won it in the 2021 season. The Seahawks, this feels like the moment where they're trying to turn the page from good story into complete team. And prove this run is about more than a hot stretch. And if you want the frame of reference here, you already know what it is. Week 11 and 16, 2 games that were tight, 2 games that felt like heavyweight rounds. And the wild part is the teams look completely different in each one. The first one was a grind, turnovers, pressure, and a narrow, painful Seattle loss. The second was chaos. Seattle pulls off a fantastic comeback, the kind of comeback that changes a season, and they get revenge. And now we got the tiebreaker with the highest stakes possible. But here's how even these teams were head-to-head. The Rams in the 2 matchups, 58 points, 830 yards combined. Seahawks in the 2 matchups, 57 points and 829 yards combined. That's basically identical. That's 1 yard, 1 point, 1 bounce. And historically, this is rare territory. This is the third instance in NFL history where teams that split a regular season series with a combined margin of 1 point or fewer met in the conference championship game. The interesting take here is that the 2 prior times, the winner won by double digits, but the vibe here, I don't think it's going down like that. Now, here's why this matchup feels so dangerous. It's not just a rivalry game, it's a clash of identities. The Rams are built to score, built to explode, built to stress you vertically and force you to defend the whole field. Seattle is built to suffocate, built to pressure you without selling out, and built to make you play perfect football for 60 minutes. You can't talk about this game without talking about the 2 quarterbacks because both have a pressure narrative hanging over them. Matthew Stafford has been capable of looking unstoppable in this matchup. He put up 457 passing yards in Week 16, but he also put up 130 in Week 11. That's a massive swing, and in the playoffs, the key stat is brutal. Stafford has the lowest passer rating under pressure at 24.8 of any quarterback participating in his 2025 playoffs. That is a flashing red light going into Seattle because Seattle's whole identity is built on affecting the quarterback. On the other side, Sam Darnold has been riding a wave with his team, but he comes into this matchup with his own pressure story. He leads the NFL in takeaways at 20, and he has a history of unraveling when heat gets home. Plus, his history against the Rams specifically has been rough. Since 2024, he's 1-3 against LA with 8 giveaways in that span, the most by any quarterback versus any single opponent in the playoffs. So if you're Seattle, the mission is don't let this become a game where Darnold has to be the hero for 60 minutes. That's the setup. Now let's get into the 3 keys that will decide this game and who goes to Santa Clara. Key number 1 is pressure is the name of the game. Both teams need it. Seattle's defense is built on something that doesn't even feel fair. They create pressure at an elite rate without blitzing much. Seattle owns the 4th highest pressure rate at 38.9% of dropbacks, while blitzing at an 8th lowest frequency at 23.1% of snaps. That means they're getting home with 4. They're not exposing the back end, and they're still forcing quarterbacks into mistakes. And it's not just one guy. You won't find one Seahawk sitting at the very top of the pressure leaderboard, but they've got 5 players with 40-plus pressures, and that's what makes it feel relentless. It's waves. Now apply that to Stafford. In this postseason, Stafford is 6 of 20 under pressure, 89 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. His passer rating under pressure is 24.8. That's the lowest among playoff quarterbacks, and it's the one thing the Rams have to solve, because if Stafford is uncomfortable, it shrinks the Rams' offense and makes everything harder. Now you flip it to Sam Darnold. He's the NFL leader in takeaways with 20. 11 of those came under pressure, 6 interceptions, 5 fumbles lost. 7.2% of his pressure dropbacks became a giveaway. So this game is basically a pressure auction. Who can heat up the quarterback without breaking the covers behind? And the Rams have a huge psychological edge here. Darnold's history versus the Rams since 2024. He's coughed it up 8 giveaways against LA. Again, most by any quarterback versus any single opponent in that span. If the Rams can get early pressure, they can put that doubt back into his head. Now, my second key in this one is, can Seattle survive without Zach Charbonnet and keep the offense balanced? Seattle's defense gets the shine, and they deserve it, but the run game has been quietly essential to why this team is here. Around week 10, it started to turn, and from week 16 onward, it has looked like a real identity. 172.3 rushing yards per game, 2 rushing TDs per game, 9.5 first downs generated via runs. That's not nice to have. That's a weapon that controls games. But now they lose half of the 2-headed monster, and Zach Charbonnet goes down with an ACL injury in a divisional round win over the San Francisco 49ers. So the question becomes, can Kenneth Walker III carry the load and keep Seattle out of obvious passing situations? Walker has been productive against the Rams. He's had 100-plus scrimmage yards in each of the last 3 games versus LA, including 164 in the Week 16 win. So the production is there. But the challenge increases when defenses know they don't have to split attention across 2 backs the same way. If Seattle can't establish the ground game, it shifts the weight to Darnold, and that's where this matchup gets dangerous because the Rams can hunt him with pressure. Seattle wants balance. Seattle wants to keep the playbook open. Seattle wants to avoid a 3rd and long script where Darnold is reading the whole field with bodies in his lap. Walker's role here is massive. Now, my key number 3 is experience versus momentum, McVay's resume against Seattle's streak. This is where it gets spicy because it's not just players, it's the sideline too. You've got 2 of the youngest coaches in the league, but their playoff histories are completely different. Sean McVay has been here a lot since being hired in 2017. He has 92 wins. He's already tied with Don Shula for the most playoff wins by a coach under 45 at 10. He's guided the Rams to 2 Super Bowls with 1 win, and Sunday is his 16th playoff game as a head coach. That matters because he's seen every version of playoff pressure there is. Mike McDonald over here is in just his 2nd season as a Seahawks head coach, and he coached his first playoff game as a head coach last week. Now he's stepping into a conference championship with everything on the line. If Seattle wins, he becomes the 4th youngest coach to lead a team to a Super Bowl, a category McVay already owns real estate in. So what matters more, the experience and the track record, or the teams playing the best football right now? because Seattle's current trajectory is the headline. They've won 8 straight, and their defense looks like it's peaking at exactly the right time. But the Rams bring the counter. Stafford's pedigree, McVay's experience, and an offense that can change the game with a handoff or an explosive moment. And there's more statistical tug of war in this matchup that tells you how hard it is. Now, the Rams average 8.9 air yards per attempt. That's the highest in the league. But the Seahawks allow 4.7 air yards per attempt. That's the lowest in the league. So the Rams want shot plays. Seattle is built to erase them. Also, keep an eye on the Rams tight ends and rollout game. Stafford had a league-high 74 design rollout attempts, and that's why a guy like Kobe Parkinson can matter. He already has 90 receiving yards and a touchdown in the Rams' 2 playoff wins. Now, my takeaway in this one is this feels like a one mistake decides it type of game. Both teams can win. Both teams are built to make you uncomfortable. But if I'm asking myself who I trust to handle chaos late, I trust the quarterback who has already done it on the biggest stage and the coach who's navigated this moment multiple times. My pick here is the Rams. And I'm taking the Rams because I believe they can generate enough pressure on Darnold to tilt the game. And I'm betting Stafford makes 1 or 2 legacy throws you need in a conference championship, especially in a game this tight. All right, fam, that's Championship Sunday. 2 games, 2 tickets. And by the end of tomorrow night, we're going to know exactly who's heading into Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60. Now, before you click off, let's lock in the recap the right way. Clean, quick, and with intent. Our AFC Championship game, I've got the New England Patriots over the Denver Broncos. NFC Championship game, I got the Los Angeles Rams over the Seattle Seahawks. And listen, this is exactly why I love this weekend, because it's not just who's better. It's who protects the football, who wins the pressure moments, who finishes the drives, and who stays composed when the whole season is sitting on one possession. So I need you to do 2 things for me right now. Number 1, drop your picks. Who are you taking, and what's the score? Are you riding with the Patriots' road perfection, or are you backing Denver's defense and the mile-high advantage? And in the NFC, are you trusting Stafford and that Rams offense, or are you rocking with Seattle's 8-game surge and the best defense in the league? Put in the comments, and don't just give the answer. Give me the score and the X factor, man. Who swings it? 1 player, 1 moment, 1 call. Let's see who really knows ball here. And number 2, tap in with Game Time with Hubb. If you've been rocking with me all season, you already know the routine. Like, subscribe, follow, because we're not slowing down now. We're going all the way through the Super Bowl and beyond, recaps, reactions, and the next slate the second it drops. So you can find me here on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that Game Time with Hubb. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss the post-game breakdown. If you're on TikTok or IG, save the video, share it, tag a friend who's been talking crazy all year. I want to see where this energy is at. Because when the game's in, I'm coming right back with the reactions, what hit, what missed, and what's the biggest turning point in each matchup. All right, lock it in, snacks ready, notifications on. It's Championship Sunday, and it's about to get real. We're going to find out who's going to Super Bowl 60. So this has been Game Time with Hubb. I'm Hubb, and I'll catch you right after the games, man. Till next time, peace.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Game Time with Hubb. Make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss Game Time action. See you next time.